Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 234 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Elisabeth Rosen, who played Cadet and later Lieutenant Jennifer Hailey in Stargate SG-1 seasons 4 and 5, is joining us for this episode. But before we bring her in, if you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, click that like button. It makes a great deal of a difference and will help the show continue to grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. As this is a live show, Elisabeth is waiting in the wings here to join us. So my moderating team, consisting of Tracy in this episode, is going to be taking your questions for I almost said for Jennifer, for Elisabeth in the live chat here. So go ahead and submit those to her. She'll get them over to me, and I'll get a few of them over to Elisabeth. Elisabeth Rosen. Is it Rosen or Rosen?
It's Rosen.
I got it right all these years.
Either way, it's all good.
Lieutenant Jennifer Hailey from Stargate SG-1.
Amazing.
I am so excited to have you here. We have been working on this for what? A month and a half? 2 months now?
I know.
And it's like, yes. So it is terrific to have you. You were one of my favorites, my personal favorites in the show. Mm-hmm. And just right off the bat, I've got to read this one from General Maximus as well. You were my favorite guest star in SG-1, and the episodes you were in were also two of my favorite. If Stargate comes back in a new series, would you reprise this role as a part of the next generation?
Of course I would.
Okay. Absolutely. Because there's potentially a new Stargate on the horizon, and you never know.
And Faceoff spot MGM.
That's right.
And I bet you he's a Stargate fan.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would really hope so.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me where you got this idea to be a performer? Where did this and when did this first get into your bones? How old were you? You know, who helped shape you into this?
Well, my aunt was a playwright. And she actually lived next door to the producers that made McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Okay.
And I know exactly. I was 3 years old, and we were visiting her. I fell asleep on her bed, and I woke up, and the television was on, and it was Alec Guinness playing in David Lean's Oliver Twist. And I woke up and I saw him, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
At 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Literally, like my uncle was a brilliant attorney. So at 2.5, I was convinced I was going to go to Harvard, and that was no big deal. And then I saw Alec Guinness, and he just caught me, and that was it.
Wow.
I know. So David Lean, years and years, every once in a while, like I'll see a David Lean film and will just pull me in more. But it was Alec Guinness.
Wow.
Who later went on to obviously incredible success in Star Wars, but something about him he enchanted me.
I adore him in Bridge Over the River Kwai.
Oh gosh, I know.
An intense performance. I mean, you're just tortured watching it.
She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm always so inspired by Olivia.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
The way that they weave the words, and of course, I'm such a fan of Patrick Stewart. But it was when I was 3, I remember thinking, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Wow. Wow. Can you tell me, Elisabeth, about a role that changed you or affected you in a way that you didn't anticipate when you first got the material, or you looked at that and you were like, I can shape this. I can work with this, and it turned into something that you didn't expect.
Every part is that way.
Okay.
Right? Cadet Hailey actually was very much that way, because I'll tell you, so many people write me and tell me that they want to go into science because of that part. Truly, it's a phenomenon. Of all the parts I've ever played, what changed me the most? I played a young woman who was a true story produced by Barbara Streisand
Oh,
about a young woman who doesn't look Jewish and she performs in a circus during World War II, and she has to be hidden because the Nazis obviously want to come and destroy all Jewish people. And just to be on set with that project was so special because of, they're all true stories. It's called The Rescuers. It's very beautiful.
wow. Okay.
It was really wonderful, and I worked with Tim Matheson, who's obviously incredible, and
Yeah.
Daryl Hannah. And to be on that set and be amongst all of the people in Nazi uniform, and we had a real circus and real circus performers, but we were telling the story of true people. And they hid in circus trucks for years. They had children. My character had, I think, like had 3 children, and she hid in a circus truck when they would come and check everyone's ID. And they had been a family that had circus people for such a long time. It was a very beautiful project to be a part of.
Wow.
Also, I'll tell you what. I worked with Gene Wilder.
Oh.
I'm Gene Wilder's only daughter, he's ever had. And I remember when I came to meet him, they were holding auditions, but they weren't real auditions because sometimes they do that, but they've already cast the part. And I went in to meet them, and it was this prolific director, George Chopra, who's like a fantastic director, and this wonderful producer, Fred Berner, who actually produced The Maestro. And I went in to meet them, and they said, you have to come back and meet Gene Wilder. And I came in, and Gene met me, and he literally said, you are my child. And they had hired someone else from New York, and they paid her off, because I was in Toronto at the time.
Yeah.
They paid out her fee,
Her
and
contract.
then they
Yeah.
got me to work with him. And just to work with him and Joyce was so special. And I
Wow.
got to work with Bruce Surtees, who shot Beverly Hills Cop
Yeah.
and Lenny, and all of the camera crew from Titanic.
Wow.
And they let me sit, which I guess never happens. I hung out with Bruce Surtees, and I said, can I watch you light? Because there was a scene, and he said literally it's going to take 5 hours to light the scene. I said, Bruce, can I just stay and watch you? And he let me ask him every question because his dad was a cinematographer.
Yeah.
And so I asked all these questions about Titanic, but I learned how they shot all the old movies with the lighting, and that was phenomenal to work with them.
We take the construction of a set as audience members so much for granted. It is a total art what goes into making everything just right. You're not just lighting a space. You are setting a mood, you are setting a tone, and you're doing it in such a way that you're wanting to bring the audience in a specific way. And those people are artists, and we don't give them credit nearly enough. They are so responsible for setting everything into place so that you can go in and do your job.
Well, Bruce was very rare because he was lighting a movie theater, an old movie theater. And the way he lit it, if you ever see the scene, it's called Murder in a Small Town. And it's a scene where Gene Wilder is just watching, and the scene lasted 30 seconds. This is how much they loved him. The scene is just him looking at a movie, but the whole theater is dark, and there's just one stream of light coming through his face. And he literally said to Joyce and Fred, it's going to take me 5 hours to light this room. And they said, okay, we'll come back. The way the shot is lit, the real filmmaker is how they compose a shot. So a cinematographer and production manager and production designer are so important because the composition of the shot and the lighting design is actually the sign of a true filmmaker.
Yeah.
So when you really look at a show, if you watch a show, the acting is of course important, but when you look at the composition of a shot, if you look at Akira Kurosawa, who's such a great filmmaker,
Oh man.
he tells the story not just through where the people sit. Whenever an actor comes on set, they usually like to pick where they sit. I never ask where I can go. I let the director place me. and the cinematographer placed me, because how they're telling the story, where I sit is up to them. It's got nothing to do with me. That's why hitting marks is so important, because if you hit the mark the right way, the composition of the shot is every piece is a painting.
Wow.
So I agree with you more than 1,000,000,000%.
Wow. That is so cool.
That's why Stargate, for the amount of time that we worked, they were so fast. And everything is so well composed.
Okay. Yeah, it's a well-oiled machine. You came into it at season 4, and they did, over the course of 3 shows, 13 more seasons, and they were doing something right. Something was working. So
People love this show. It's really important to them.
yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me your Stargate journey? How'd you get cast as Cadet Hailey?
Well, honestly, I was in Los Angeles, and my agent called me and said, I want you to go meet Paul Weber, who cast the show. And it's actually a fun story. They sent me pages to read, and they sent me a lot of pages. I remember thinking, wow, I'm reading 10 pages. That's a lot for an audition for TV. And I went, and all the other girls had 3 pages, and I had 10. And so I went in to meet Paul, and I said, I have a lot more scenes than anyone else. And he said, you know what, let's just read them anyway. And all I could think, no, and all I could think of was, this really reminds me of A Few Good Men. Because Cadet Hailey is very, I just remember thinking, it reminds me of Tom Cruise, where he's sort of the underdog, but he really knows the truth. And I literally just thought, I'm just going to borrow a little bit of that energy. And I went in and we read the scene, and Paul said, that's so great, thank you. And then I got a phone call a week later saying, you're still up for Stargate. I thought, that's funny. And actually, it took them 10 days to choose me, because they said that I was the shortest person they had ever considered for the show. And they were worried that they couldn't fit me in the composition of the shots, because I'm only 5'3" and they're all tall. And when I got to set and I met Richard, he said, I want you to know that we asked them to choose you because you were so smart. And all the other girls were taller and a little bit more sporty. And they said, we just were really into your conviction of what you did. So I have to one day thank Rob Reiner and Tom Cruise. I do, because I literally thought, like, how, and I remember I met Peter DeLuise, the director, who
Yeah.
is amazing. And he just said, like, your audition was so good. And I remember thinking, I walked in and I just thought, this is, because it's so few good men. Jennifer Hailey has really got that conviction. And that was just all I thought. I'm sure I owe him a commission.
And it's true to the character, because she decks an upperclassman off screen.
Oh no, I know.
She's
Very
tired.
tough guy.
Yeah, she's tired of other people picking on this girl, and it doesn't matter her size. She lets him have it. It's one of my favorite scenes.
They actually, just so you know, that wasn't there. They changed that for me, because I was so short. They wanted to make a semi-joke about my height. So they wanted to comment on my height to explain why I was in the show. And so they added that into the script so that it would justify why I was on the show, and then give my character more of an edge, because I was so little. They wanted to show why I would be included, because they wanted my height to almost be a plot point.
Yeah.
So that people wouldn't wonder why. So they actually added that in for me.
Well, it helps define her spirit. Like this has nothing to. It is immaterial to what she is going to accomplish. And if she has to bloody a couple of noses to defend the people she cares about, she's gonna do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had letters from young women who told me that they were being bullied all the time. And as soon as they saw the show, they were able to stand up for themselves.
Wow.
Like young girls, like 11, 12, I'm thinking, that's everything.
Yeah.
I know she's an awesome character.
Can you tell me about that? It's one of my favorite scenes from the show. Just who the hell do you think you are? The dress down with General Kerrigan and Major Carter. Can you tell me about that scene? Because you were on fire in that scene.
You
That is a
think so?
great scene.
That was our first scene we shot. And I remember strongly walking in, and Peter said, we did it a couple times, and he said, it's amazing to me, like, you really are this character. I said, I don't understand why. He said, because you can't even do the salute right. Because because everything on Stargate is very by the code for the army. Even the socks have to be a certain way. So he showed me when I walked in, he said, there's a salute. And I tried to copy it, and he said, you can't even get where the hand has to hit on the head. You're such a rebel. And we walked in, and I'm sure it was fueled by that, but I remember just thinking, she knows they're going to kick her out. And she knows that she's right.
Yeah.
And she knows that she has been stepped all over, and she's sort of an orphan. Doesn't want to get pushed around. I also am such a fan of Silence of the Lambs and Clarice Starling, and I love in that movie how she trained with the FBI. In that show, they show scenes where she's training everyone 6'4" and she's 5'2", and a lot of
Yeah.
her work has always inspired everything that I do because she never gets pushed around.
Yeah.
I love the character of Clarice Starling.
Yeah.
So it was very much that energy of like feeling like knowing that better to be kicked out for being right than become someone who steps all over.
Did you get the impression that she didn't really have anywhere to go were she to be kicked out? Or do you think that she did have a home to go to?
No, she's an orphan.
Okay.
She was an orphan and joined the military because she had no family. And she's a remarkable genius, which is unexpected, we find out. But she had nowhere to go. If they throw her out, where would she go? She has nowhere to go.
Okay.
That's what I think makes her so likable is that but she doesn't care.
Right.
She would just walk out.
Yeah.
It's not that she's invulnerable. It's that, have you ever met anyone who's so intelligent that their conviction, because they know their ideas are strong, they won't be intimidated?
I know a couple of those people. For sure.
I mean, literally, two people. I mean, I love the Maverick energy, and I love Clarice Starling so much. And that archetype is so important. I never wanted, because people in the military usually have families, they're in the military. She somehow ended up there. She has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Her mind is her only treasure, really.
Yeah.
She knows she's out on her ass. That's what I like about her.
Yeah. Jennifer, I'm sorry, Elisabeth. I'm sorry. Can you pull the camera out back a little bit for me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell me about the scene of going into the gate room and seeing the Stargate for the first time? Because it looks like Peter DeLuise scared the hell out of you.
Why?
When the kawoosh happens and she jolts back. Do you remember that moment?
I do, and that's all special effects. That's not in real life.
Okay.
So they add that in later. So I remember that scene really well. And we walked up, and I was so inspired by the movie.
Yeah.
And when James Spader sees his Stargate for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember because the most important part of Jennifer Hailey is she is actually smarter than everyone, smarter than even the people in Stargate, because her equations, she sees a misequation even in Amanda Tapping's equation. So for her to see that her ideas are real was so fantastic. So I wanted to make sure that when she saw the Stargate, it was as if the audience saw the Stargate for the first time. I really wanted everyone to experience through her, like, wow, she got an idea, but all of her theories are correct. And she's not in the military yet. She hasn't even been briefed at this level, so she still has that level of enchantment. She's still going to be full of ideas and full of awe. And Peter literally came to me and said, listen, you haven't seen it, but when it blows open, it's like an explosion. It's like this incredible energy. So I want, Amanda's used to it. She's seen it a million times. I wanted to make sure that everybody experienced everything through me like it was the first time they'd ever seen it. She would be, you've never, imagine if you saw a Stargate come out of the earth, or someone brought you into a tunnel and showed you a Stargate. I wanted it to be as real as possible. So when it opens up and moves, it's as if it's as if the it's as if you walked into the wardrobe of Narnia, and then you opened
Yeah.
the door, and it was real. Like, oh my God, this is. But I didn't want her to be lackadaisical or apathetic. I didn't want her to think like, oh, this is cool. I want it to be really exciting.
The universe opens up to her when that Stargate opens. And it's almost like some of her equations are vindicated when that moment happens, because
Oh,
it clicks in her mind what Sam has been trying to communicate to her but wasn't able to say.
it's not just that. Imagine if you were in the military and they were having you write a paper and you discovered time travel, and then they told you that you were wrong, but actually you were so right, but no one's supposed to know yet. So she's not just a mathematician, she's actually a futurist
Yeah.
reading the future so far ahead, and they want to throw her out for what she knows is true, but nobody figured it out yet. And the most important part of her character, which is so cool, is if you look at scientists, so you look at Einstein, he figures out a theory, imagination before it's in the real material plays, all of her ideas are, they're not just ideas that we're chatting about. She has mathematical equations that they're correct. But because the people in the military haven't gotten there yet, they don't even understand what her perception would be. So she would be on par with Tesla. Like what I guess a little bit of this would be in the Prestige with
Mhm.
Hugh Jackman when he goes to visit David Bowie. So
Yeah.
her ideas are so far out, they haven't even been able to create her thoughts yet. So for her to actually see they're real, imagine if Howard Hughes had an idea and then someone walked in and said, we're totally on board with you. Here we're in Area 51. Your plane you imagined, we have a part of your plane here. And then he sees it for real. It would be that type of idea. Like, she's so far ahead. She's actually with AI, UFO technology, and no one's supposed to know. So when she goes into the multiverse
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to the world, and by the way, nanotechnology now is everything, even in science.
Mm.
They're using nanotechnology. At the time, no one even knew what nanotechnology was. So Peter DeLuise was very ahead.
Yeah.
But all of our episode is about light energy, and she's going to visit other scientists who are actually already at her level of equation. And so all of these people exist, but she has to go to school with a bunch of people that don't even get her.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole experience is as if you had thoughts that no one else had but you. And then you met a bunch of people who totally got you, and you weren't weird. So her whole life, she's been misunderstood because the people who get her live in another dimensional realm.
Yeah.
So that's such a cool thing.
And the people that she works with at the Air Force, they they don't know about this project. It's that top secret, and they don't know what to do with her. And so
Well,
you've
they
got
don't
Sam
even,
who comes in and it's like, well, actually, I can't tell you, but there is a place for her.
they're that, at that level, they're so well trained and so well briefed anyway that they have people who've gone to incredible schools, but they're there for military assessment. She's not part of it. She would be a member of Avatar. She would be part of the Sigourney Weaver team that was discovering Avatar, she wouldn't be part of the military industrial complex, which is what they're in. So what she's doing is counterintuitive to what they're taught because they only brief them to a certain level. And then what they say is the rest would be classified.
Mm-hmm.
So everything she's saying is blacked out if they got a memo. And how could she know? So they would either thinking that she would be plagiarizing someone, they think she's making it up.
That's true too.
So for them, everything she says is Swahili anyway, because at that level, she's talking in a language and they think she's constantly insulting them because she's understanding something at such a top level that they think she's always being insulting, where she's just so clinical at that point because she's trying to explain such complicated theories that there's no one there for her to communicate with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She has no one to share her language with, as she's figuring out herself.
Right. They speak English, and she's speaking the language of mathematics at the harmonic level.
Yeah.
Howard Hughes had the same dilemma. Tesla had the same dilemma. I'm sure Robert Oppenheimer had the same issue. Einstein, who would he talk to? Because she's really smart. I mean, her IQ is like over 180. She is the prodigy. I think that it's interesting. Will Hunting from Good Will Hunting,
Mm-hmm.
who could he talk to? His Amanda Tapping is Stella Skarsgård. And he's just as arrogant and just as rebellious as Jennifer Hailey.
I love it. Tell me about Amanda Tapping. Tell me about working with Amanda.
I've actually stayed at her house. She's a phenomenal person and a beautiful person. She learned, once she knew she was up for the job, she actually learned quantum theory. So all of the theories she explains, she studied and learned. So because she can do she has huge amounts of dialogue. But she's one of the most kind people in the world. Completely down to earth, works harder than almost anyone. I cannot say enough good things about her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she wanted to produce her own show. She's a phenomenal person. I had the best time. I worked with her twice, and then I went to stay at her house. She's an amazing husband. But for an actress, she's very grounded. She's very solid. She came from, and she studied with theater for a long time. She really wanted to be on Stargate. And I think she is really like the essence of that show, because all the men are kind of great and fantastic, but I remember she would call me and say she had huge monologues. And she would just have to sit and learn, and she had to explain all of the concepts. One time she had to hang above a glacier for 12 hours. She was just, and she did a lot of her own stunts. She's a phenomenal person. Never ever did she ever become impatient.
And for her, she can't explain it unless she understands it herself. So
exactly.
I've heard she has to get into the nuts and bolts of what they're asking her to say, because if she can't believe it herself enough to explain it on the page in terms of what they're asking her to say, she can't expect us to understand even the idea of it. So
That's exactly, and that's how I work too with everything that I do, because I think that when you can't expect, sometimes the cinematographer will tell you the story as we're telling it too, but you can't expect the cinematographer and the editor to tell the story visually. So when you understand the concept, the audience will follow the thought process, and it will slow them down, and it makes the world more real.
wow.
It's really important. That way it's not just like a B. I think they do it on Star Trek as well. But that way it's not just a silly show. When you really understand these concepts and you explain them, I found that people who watch Stargate, they become smarter because you're getting engaged with science.
Yeah, you're allowing your mind to be open to possibilities, and that's a huge that's a huge gift that a show a cable show can give you, is an opportunity to say, hey, dare to open your mind.
For 12 years.
Yeah, it's
They
wild.
would have gone longer.
Yeah.
I think, why did they stop? I can't remember, but they could have gone on for 20 years. People were just so addicted to that show.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, I meet Stargate fans. People will say to me, like, secretly, like, I'm a Stargate person. I think, like, oh, wow, okay. Like, the least, I'm sure that they could fill Comic-Con every year.
For sure. Absolutely. Can you tell me about what it was like to work with creatures that you couldn't see, that were going to be inserted in post production? Your eye lines, your tell me about the mechanics of working with these light beings
It
in
was
the scenes
cool.
that you had them in.
It was cool because I have a very good imagination and I understand light technology and nanotechnology. So, but the most important part was to make sure that, and this is always what I find, when you listen to someone, to build rapport with an audience, if it's exciting to me and they trust me, and it's going to not be boring. If I find it interesting, they're going to be interesting and they're going to be interested. So, to me, but the idea of the episode was so cool that they look like fairy lights and they look completely harmless, but actually they could attack us and destroy us, which is incredible because look what they can do now with nanotechnology. And so for me, the idea that something so harmless that you would have anywhere would just be so available is so cool.
Absolutely.
I like the concept, so it was interesting to me. But to me, when you look at it, if someone showed you a jar of light and said, if you let this light out, it could kill the whole world, and they look like fireflies, wouldn't you be fascinated to think like, or if you're walking through a room, say you're walking through a room of curiosities, and they say like, oh, look at this hand. We found this lying on the side of a crater, but it actually belongs to what we think is UFO. Like everything in Stargate is supernatural and extraterrestrial. So nothing is real, and all of her ideas are all around her. So it's as if, and what Amanda's trying to teach her is, if you are patient, we will take you into this universe. And if this is the universe you belong in anyway, hold out and just be patient because the place you belong is just right there. And the powerful message about that story is, I think for young people, because she's very young,
Yeah.
is that if you are smart, people can sometimes bully really, really, really smart people. Hold out and just wait and find the right place to go take your intelligence, and then the world will be open to you.
That's the conversation that the two of them have before going to SGC, where Carter's trying to tell her, your universe is waiting for you, and she doesn't understand the magnitude of it. She's like, so what? So I can fly this certain type of plane? Like that's going to be the top of it for me. What are you talking about? And Sam
So
turns to her and says, "Believe me, it's real." And this look that you have on your face is just the door creaking open to the possibility that her equations might exist somewhere practically for mankind to use.
I feel like what it really was when we did it was she's had a chip on her shoulder for so long.
Yeah.
Not because she's difficult, because she's really smart and really, really like, imagine her imagination is so amazing. And so for Amanda to come along and say, everything, everything you've imagined is real and even more,
And more.
doesn't, she's had to defend herself for so long that she's afraid that they will open the door a little bit and then shut it.
Yeah. Yep.
She wants to know, and that's why Amanda's like, the whole universe is real. She wants to know that it's almost, you can have a theory, write a mathematical equation, but to understand that the world is an infinite place and that all of her ideas are, it's as if Alice, when Alice falls into Wonderland and it's all real, she's wanting to open the door for her. And my character, who is essentially Alice in a way,
Mm.
falling into a universe, she wants to make sure not that Amanda will explain everything to her, but she just wants Amanda to say, like, this isn't a dream. Like, really, this, don't pinch yourself, don't worry. You're not going to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
What we're walking into, you're removing yourself into something so much more. It's a cool thing.
Oh yeah. And it's a great message to send to young people, because it's like, don't spend your time knocking into walls, keep your nose down, keep your nose clean, do your job. And, given the right set of circumstances, the world might just open up to you,
And to know, if people bully you, it's good to stand for yourself. But if people bully
true.
you, it's because they're threatened by you. And to recognize that people bully you because they're afraid of the power that you have, because you're not what they understand, that beyond that place is where every great doorway lies.
Yep.
Every great mind knocks up against these people, not even to pay attention, just to be like a firecracker and not to worry what the outside world does. And if you focus upward through your ideas, you will be transformed into another world. Mm-hmm. Not to even worry.
I love Proving Ground.
That's a fun episode.
Oh man, that's so fun. I loved Courtney as Elliot. I loved Grace as Satterfield, and David Kopp. Man, getting his ass handed to him the guy couldn't get out of his own way with as Grogan. Tell me about that
you see
team.
Yourself in him?
I kind of see myself in Grogan a little bit. Like, yep, I'm gonna be the first to get shot.
Right.
I'm just going down. There's nothing else to it. Oh man. Tell me about that team.
The cool part is, at that point, I'm actually not being tested, but they don't know.
Right.
So I'm a plant. So they're like all insecure and worried, like, oh, this is a test, and what are we gonna do? And they're all being, and I'm the only one who's in on the game.
Yep.
And the whole episode is that I'm the plant, and I'm actually the inside person testing them to see if they're good enough to stay. Because they're testing them all, right? Mm-hmm. And it's actually written, I was in Los Angeles, and I was between homes, and I found a sublet, and the man who subletted it to me he said, I write for Stargate. I said, you're joking. And he'd written for Gene Roddenberry before that. And he wrote me into the episode. He said we should bring Elisabeth back, which was awesome. And it was so great, because Courtney was such a great, great actor, a theater actor, so wonderful, so talented. And Grace, I remember when I met Grace, you know what she said? Her dream was to get a TV series, and then she got Hawaii Five-0. That was her intent. She came and she said, I really want a TV series. So that's awesome.
And Battlestar.
But she wanted her own. Yeah. She was amazing in Battlestar.
Yeah.
She wanted her own show. They were all really good. And what I really liked about them was they were all really, really focused. And nobody was a method actor, which is great. But everybody was focused. They all, like, I remember we would be separate, and everybody, when we were working, they were as if they were really cadets. They learned everything really quickly. They cast the actors really well.
Yeah, it's hard to
And you
fake
could write,
that.
well, I remember there were so many scenes where they all had to be on the show. You have to remember you're actually in the military. Some people just don't have that. And I think David Copper's also so great because I think everyone can relate to him. Courtney's sort of the one who's trying to do his best, but everybody had the right posture. We all wore the outfits. Everybody came very focused.
Yeah,
There
you
was very
believe
little
that
joke.
they're the best of the best. You can't. I would almost think that they would have put you through boot camp for a couple of days just with the Air Force guys to make sure that you did that right, because you are representing a real life organization in a paramilitary universe.
They should have sent us to train with the Navy SEALs. Maybe if they bring the show back, we had really good stunt coordinators, and they would take us and train us, and show, like, there was not stunt people for what we were doing, but I really, every person they hired, we were all in good shape. You had to make sure. And we were shooting, by the way, that episode. I think it was 32 degrees the whole time.
Oh my god.
Or I guess it would be like, it was pretty close to 90 the whole episode. And this is the thing I remember the most for the episode that was very distracting. We were shooting outside and we were right near a train station. So we would get this amazing scene. And then all of a sudden in the background, a train would arrive. And we would just say, like,
We'll
going
wait.
again. No, really. We would get, and the actors were, and I said this for Richard and every person around that, but especially for Grace and Courtney and David, they were quick because we would go and we would get the scene, like quick, right? Because we had big, long days. And I remember the times we were outside, every time you saw us, we'd have these beautiful long takes, one shot. They'd do like everything in one at first to get a good long shot. Then there would be a train, and I would think, like, oh my God. Or we were near a train station, plus planes would fly over. And we had to have clean audio, so just be like, oh. And we would just try to plan between the planes. It was intense. And you had to really not be attached to your acting. You couldn't think, like, that was the best take, because there would be a plane, you just think, like, okay. Oh, and no.
No, it's gonna be blown.
Yeah, what can you do? But when you're shooting outside with Stargate, it's like, you can't be attached to. I love that take. It has just like, they were consistently, every actor was consistently good.
Wow.
They were very professional.
Oh, that's cool. Did you guys have a firearms training process?
We did.
Yeah, I would think that they would want to make sure that you were holding everything right and shooting everything right.
It's not just that we did, and then when they would film us, they would come and remind us again. Plus, you have to have continuity with us. So every time you have a weapon or a prop on Stargate, they're very continuity conscious. Everything has a purpose. They would actually come, and the props person would not only teach us with the stunt people, but then everything had its own explanation. So we were very well briefed. X-Files, I was on the X-Files, and they were the same.
Yeah.
I think that's why the audience liked the shows for so long, is the conscientious level was so high. Nothing is just, oh, they missed that. There's no missing piece. No person says, oh, well, they closed that closet, and then how come the closet is open?
Right. They're on the ball.
Always.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Any other special memories from those episodes?
Oh, there's so many. I remember Richard, because obviously he was MacGyver.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. They were all, I've worked with Michael Shanks in the past, so that was fantastic. Every person was so welcoming and so good. And Peter DeLuise was from 21 Jump Street, so when I met him, and he was just, it was so interesting because I'd known him for so long on 21 Jump Street. Such a good director, so caring about his script. I've never been on a show where every idea was so important to them, and not obsessive, but they cared about every thought.
Yeah.
Every character mattered a lot to them. They were a crew of really connected people. So everything we did was really important. Everything was, and we had the head of the US military was in the show with Richard. So the episode was actually very special because they said, we can't believe we have the head of the US military at the beginning of the show. So the whole show was it was very Top Gun actually. But I just remember that every person I worked with was so caring with me and patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love
was,
Peter. He's Peter in particular. He's brilliant, and he loved that show and the universe that they all made. And I think.
Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Andy Makita
Andy
does phenomenal composition. Like Peter's more of a character piece actor. Everything kind of feels like Diner in a good way. Andy Makita shoots these really long, cool shots. So both directors are so interesting because one is more like in a character piece, like what's going on with the character. Andy Makita is where you get like really great. He's just these really long tracking shots, and he's very laid back. Both phenomenal people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I know.
I hope that there's a return for the Brad Wright, Rob Cooper, John Glassner TV universe, and if so, I really hope that you're in it because there is a promise there, that like as Jack says, they're the future of the Air Force, the program. God help us. And
you want the same people to write it?
I would be open to them contributing and writing, yeah. But I just don't know if that's Amazon's plan. We'll see. And, I mean, you would be a major or a colonel by now.
No. From what I was told, I am supposed to take... The promise that was made to me was if I waited out, I'm supposed to take over the entire Stargate group.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I love them. They're phenomenal. They were the people behind Outer Limits as well. They're such great people. And I would be open to anyone doing it, including a reboot. But say someone, what if Sam Ismail wants to do Stargate?
That would be amazing.
Or James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez would come and do Stargate.
Yeah.
With them. Because it feels so much like Avatar.
I'm curious if you know about the Stargate novels. There is a book that came out in, what year was this released? 2017, called Stargate Homeworlds, and it was short stories. And in the short story Sunbreaker, Jennifer Hailey is a major serving as chief science officer on the BC 304 class USS George Hammond, along with Colonel Carter. So that's a part of the expanded universe. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It is mentioned that she served at Stargate Command until 2005 when she transferred to Area 51 at the same time as then Lieutenant Colonel Carter took over as commanding officer of R&D and spent the next few years working on Earth's Starship fleet. So she's in there somewhere, man. They've put her to work, I'm sure.
Does that mean that Amanda took over the universe?
Basically, yeah. Amanda's flying around the galaxy with her own spacecraft. This one right here, actually.
That's where Amanda is.
Yeah, yeah.
With me.
I suspect that she's aboard. I would sincerely think so.
So we're kind of Star Trekking.
You're basically Star Trekking, yeah, while avoiding getting blown up by Nequadria planets. So, but yeah, no, I think absolutely there's room for her in the future. We just need to get the show back in some shape or form.
And no one else made it except for her and I. They're all gone.
Oh no, there's plenty of crew. But yeah, you can't run the ship with just two people for sure. But
But who the other Stargate made it?
I haven't actually read the short story, but a lot of the characters have popped up in numerous tie-in novels and short stories over the years. So it is an actively working universe, if not on screen, then continuing to be made by fans, for sure.
I know that the Stargate people, I love how much they love the show because
Yeah.
I think it's something that you know that they have their own channel now.
Yep. On Pluto.
That's how powerful Stargate is. It's now a 24-hour channel. You know what I think would be cool? If they crossed Patrick Stewart's Star Trek with Stargate.
That
If
would
they
be cool.
cross in the universe and then they fly into Star Wars,
The time warp, a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago.
Doctor Strange could meet them in the multiverse.
That's right.
No, really, you never know.
You never know. No. And as we get more and more towards these AI generated stories where you can just tell a piece of software, create this story for me, you can put all of those together right now in things like ChatGPT. You know, include this character, include this character. I want this kind of thing to happen. And you tell it to write it, and it'll write it for you. So I can only imagine how long we are off from, just a matter of years, from actually being able to see something like that as well.
I agree.
It's wild.
I'm actually very pro AI. I would love to be on Stargate and have them integrate in AI characters. I was such a fan of iRobot
Mm,
and how that
yeah.
worked together.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool if they had us with AI characters as well and watching how we interact with them.
Yeah. Because one way or another, I think we're in this together the rest of the way in, because you don't unring these bells. You know, there's a lot of development happening, and they're with
Yeah.
us from here on in.
Well, and imagine if you got to talk to someone who was programmed to understand your consciousness and then could help you work out ideas the way you would work out an equation. So if you have an AI person and you have a concept and then you program them with the thought and then they can grow the thoughts with you,
Mind blowing. Absolutely wild. Trace,
yeah.
I've got some fan questions for you.
Yes.
Tracy wanted to know, on your downtime, what is something you do for yourself that brings you joy?
Oh, I go for really long walks. Wherever I go in the world, I always make sure I can walk. I go for really long walks. It's really important. I also do a lot of meditation. Like, because you have to, when you're working as an actor, you never get sleep the way you think. So I learned how to nap and meditate at the same time so that if I was working at lunch, I would often just go back and literally do forms of meditation so that I always have energy. I do a lot of energy work and meditation and walking. It's very grounding.
It's good that you found that, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's. I think that um, time for ourselves is something that people misinterpret as like, well, you know, I'll just eat and play video games or something. I think that there is room for uh, discovering yourself in the quiet. You know, like going for walks and not necessarily putting on a podcast or something, but just having time with yourself. You know, I think that's where a lot of ideas come from.
I agree, and I think sometimes people think that being busy means they feel important, and having time to just literally say, because I've been around people and they said, "Oh, I'm so busy," and I think, but you're busy, but it's not, and then you become exhausted. So I build my life so that I have a lot of time to become not bored, but have space, because I think that with space comes more energy. So I mean, you could call it boredom, but I make a lot of space in my life.
Mm.
Also, with acting, if you're always listening to someone else, it's very hard to hear a director. So I spend lots of time clearing out my mind and not, I spend lots of time with space so that when I work with a director, I am just hearing the director.
Okay.
But I love video games, don't get me wrong, I think they're super fun.
Me too.
I do. I do. I think they're great. But when you go for a walk, I study a lot of martial arts, and they say that just by walking, you can ground yourself really quickly, and most people are really ungrounded.
Mm-hmm.
So just going for, I mean, in Los Angeles, you have to spend so much time in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't go for a walk, I will have a spin bike and I will train. But I'm all about making sure that I'm not just leaving my house, getting in a car, driving to somewhere, and then walking away. But I think that that's valuable to people.
When I get out there, I try to go out to the Hollywood Hills out by Griffith. There's some beautiful trails out there.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Griffith Park, the best time to go for a walk in LA is after sunset. Sorry, I have a tiny little bug.
No, it's okay.
No, it's okay. I just past like after 7 o'clock, go for a walk as the sun is setting and go through Silver Lake. It's so beautiful.
Wow.
But I love Griffith Park is amazing.
It is.
I go to, what is it called? The beautiful, oh gosh, the planetarium there,
Mm-hmm.
where they shot Rebel Without a Cause.
Mm-hmm.
That's a phenomenal place just to go hike up.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and there's dogs, there's people, there's bikers that try not to run you over, but yeah, it's a beautiful place for sure. Urias Tosh, how long was the shooting process for an episode of Stargate from start to finish? How many days did you spend on set? What was the process like?
I think it was 7-8 days, and 12, 14 hours a day. The crew's very good. They don't spend a lot. It was a well-oiled machine when I got there. Really well put together. We would be on location, get everything done. We never did company moves within the day, which always takes a long time. They were very well planned. Like some shows you move around, they were very well planned. They were phenomenal people, such good people. Everybody was so caring. We had a really good time. So you would fly in on a Friday, and then you would start shooting. You would come in and do wardrobe on a Friday, and then they would give you the weekend to get prepared. And then you would start on a Monday, and they would put me up on a Monday, and I think we shot till the next Monday, and then we would fly home, and it was just great.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I even knew Korn Nemec, who I never worked with, but I met him a few years ago through people I knew, and that shows you really have to like science. I do remember, which I don't want to admit, but I remember looking up at some of the people with their weird alien symbols on their face. The scene where I'm with Chris, and he's got that, obviously, I remember looking up at his forehead, and it's so weird to look at in real life. It's so good, but it's so weird. And I remember he smiled at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, I'm going to start laughing. I have to stop. And he had this way of making sure I didn't laugh. And I was just like, wow, okay, thank you. Because it was so weird to look at someone with a big golden symbol on his forehead. Because he's such a tall, cool guy, right? But he's got this massive thing on his forehead, and I'm thinking, I'm going to start laughing, and it's going to ruin the scene. He looked at me almost like Aladdin, and stopped me. He just nodded his head, and I was like, okay.
Now it's real, Now I'm on this moon.
He brought me into the universe. It was cool because I don't know how he did it, but I was like, oh wow, okay, thank you. I just needed that to go. No, because it was the moment where I was like, I'm talking to you, but you're sitting on your forehead, and I'm gonna have to pretend it's not there, and he just stopped me from laughing.
Cinderblock Studios wants to know, what sci-fi or other character would you most like to play, Elisabeth?
In the whole world ever? Of all sci-fi characters ever,
Or
ever,
any
ever.
character.
Does that include Dune?
Oh yeah, Dune is like pinnacle sci-fi.
I'm a really big Timothée Chalamet, Denis Villeneuve fan, and I met Denis years ago in Cannes. Years ago, before he was even making sci-fi. I want to be in the Dune universe. Denis was fantastic, and I am so blown away by what they're creating in Dune. So blown away by what they're creating in Dune. And I think the Dune Messiah is going to be so fantastic. I can't even imagine the second one, so I don't want to talk about it. But
Yeah, it's gonna be epic.
everything and the images coming, I don't. When I look at a trailer, I'm really good. Like I don't get attached or think like I like that or I wonder what's going to be. I learned to teach myself years ago what not to do. Two directors I really believe in, like, because I have an eye out for. Obviously, I want to work with Ridley Scott. He's phenomenal. He's a brilliant person. If he did another Blade Runner,
Oh,
and this is the best part, in the book Dream of Black Sheep, the Rosen Association is actually the Sean Young character. Her name is Rachel Rosen. We own the company that creates the android. So if he ever made a prequel to Blade Runner about the Rosen Association, I should play the character.
I agree.
And I no, it's true. And if they ever made the architect of the Matrix, it would be me, because she's the Prodigy, right?
Right.
Because I think that Jennifer Gailey is going to go on and create. I really love Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I think they need to make that universe a little bit more mathematical, because the second one was so cool but so far out. So I'm really, but and I'm so I think Denis is amazing. I think Timothée Chalamet is. What's so good about that film is the film is so beautiful and so interesting, and he's so internal. And then the second one, although I don't want to jump ahead, he has to literally become a version of Moses because everybody wants him to lie and just find something for everyone to follow. So the whole purpose of that movie is for him to not fall into inertia and find the most amazing bolt of lightning to rise up with and to not tell the lie, not fall into, and then not become Stella Skarsgård, right? Not become the evil. Hold the truth he can find and trust that the truth is within him, which is really the story of the inner Christ, which is so beautiful. So I love that, and not to fall into evil and not to give into the evil magician that would want to trade in what's going on, because even his own mother wants him to just find a sentence to sell to people. This is what we believe. Just find in a way, find a theory, and then they can just follow anything. And he has to trust that his own truth is more profound. So that's going to teach people so much about, like Cadet Hailey, following your own truth leads you to a whole other universe. And the other person, obviously, if I could work with Steven Spielberg, I think he's amazing. I love Jurassic Park. But the director that I think is really special, that people are just finding, obviously, if I could be a Christopher Nolan person, that would be incredible. But I really love Matt Reeves because I feel like he's the juxtaposition to all these filmmakers. He and J.J. Abrams worked together. He's very inspired by, obviously, Steven Spielberg. But what I liked about Matt Reeves was I heard his explanation of his Batman he wanted to make. And obviously, Tim Burton is so brilliant. Christopher Nolan made a wonderful James Bond Batman and unsurpassable in his own way. But I heard Matt Reeves' explanation of how he wanted to ground Batman into a dystopian universe, almost Blade Runner-esque, where you could, I feel like his Batman is almost real. And I feel like every person can relate to this Batman because He literally is. The car could be built. The suit isn't fake. The voices are all real. I was so blown away by everyone in that movie, and the way that he made the Joker, rather than to compete with Heath Ledger's Joker, which is you can't. Barry Keogh's character is disfigured from birth.
Mm.
Robert Pattinson, it's a deleted scene, but it's on YouTube. When Robert Pattinson sees him, this is not someone who put on makeup. This is not Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. This is someone that has never been embraced by society. He's never been seen as a human. So he's so far away from empathy and people even touching him. He's probably never been touched in his whole life. So to give Batman that level of disassociation, but it to be believable, is so interesting to me. So I think that Matt Reeves is super cool as well. And I feel like that really goes with the Dune universe because these men are making people that are believable for young people.
Mm.
So when they feel like they've been disassociated, they're not Generation X, they're not going around looking for experience. They're these people are saving them from the I guess the disenfranchisation of being apathetic, and they've done it all. They're not giving you that feeling. They're there to believe in the good regardless of what's hunting for them. I'm giving you a really long answer, but
That's
I love all of those directors, and but I feel like Matt Reeves is he did so much for Planet of the Apes, and to come from Felicity, and I also just so far out to go from Felicity to Batman, so cool. I'm also a really big David Goyer person who wrote Blade,
mm-hmm.
who wrote Batman. I met him through a friend of a friend a long time ago, not that long ago, but a while ago, and his universe is. I've always been taken by Blade. I think they should bring back. I know they're doing Blade in the universe. I think they need to bring back Wesley Snipes'
Yeah.
Blade as well,
Yeah.
because I feel like Wesley Snipes. There's something about like that battle he has with Stephen Dorff. There's something about his energy. I think Marshall Ali's Blade's going to be brilliant, but there's just something about David Goyer's Wesley Snipes' Blade I'm really drawn to. I really love the future universes. Who's your favorite sci-fi person?
I've been thinking a lot about Dune since you brought it up.
Oh,
I would have loved to see you as Irulan. Irulan is my favorite character from that
who's playing
series.
her?
It's what's her face who was um, Wanda Maximoff's sister. It is Irulan actress. It is going to be Florence Pugh is her name.
That's funny. I'm sure she'll be wonderful,
She better be.
but I'll tell you, many people have come to me. You know, originally, do you know the director Peter Berg?
Yes.
He was supposed to direct Dune years ago
Okay.
for Paramount. Many people have come to me as well, just as an aside. Many people have come to me and said they like her, but they said the character she's playing in Dune, not to hurt her feelings, they thought of me first.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Irulan's. I've always loved that character. She is brilliant, but she is trapped in her destiny. And, juxtaposed to Paul, who is unleashing himself from his destiny, but yet trapped in another destiny. I think Dune has so many. It's my dad's favorite book. It has so many layers, and I can't wait to see what part 2 looks like. And I really, God, I hope that they do Messiah and Children of Dune, because it's like just peeling an onion. The universe just gets deeper and deeper and wilder as you go. So I can't wait.
I know, and the only element I would have liked to put into that movie, obviously I would never change anything Denis does, and I think Rick Fraser, Hans Zimmer, the music of Dune, I own it. When I went to the movie, I remember sitting back and thinking, oh God, David Lean would be so in love with this movie. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if you agree with me, but by the way, Virginia Madsen almost played my mom twice
Oh.
from the original Dune, and I really loved her take on the movie. What I'm finding in movies that I don't love is that they've taken all the seduction out of these films and they're all very intellectual. Her approach to the part is very intellectual. Like I can see she does a lot of plotting and thinking, and I feel like I wish and I hope maybe I'm not meant to be an adversary to Timothy Chalamet. Maybe I'm meant to be more of a something that's more friendly towards him. I don't know, but there's the only element that's missing in Dune is it's not seductive at all. And I don't think it's not, I mean, you'd think that in the book, he's so in love with
Chani.
two women,
Yeah.
but with two women
Yeah.
because he knows Chani's going to die. And the one thing all of the nuns should be, how do I say it again? The
Bene Gesserit.
Right, the Bene Gesserit, none of them are seductive.
Mm.
They're all playing it like they hate men. But it's illogical because you'd think that they would be seduced by his gifts because they're all telepathic with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Denis is so brilliant and everything they're doing is really fantastic. Thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. I think that you could really pull that off. This, Elisabeth, this has been so cool to sit down and get to know you a little bit. I was so excited when you responded to my message because this is such an important character to the Stargate SG-1 series, and we've got 60 people watching right now. There is. Do
they have any more questions?
I think that's it. I think people have just been listening.
Well, please tell every person. It matters so much to me that you guys care about us. Everything I do, I always do it thinking about the people who are giving me their precious time to watch. So these 60 people, who I hope I meet at Comic-Con or something in the future, every person, your time matters to me. Thank you.
And thank you for spending so much time with me and letting us get to know you a little bit better. These are great stories that you've shared, and I'm looking forward to more people seeing this episode over the next few days and weeks. So thank you for taking the time.
Oh, David, if you want to do another interview ever, I'm 100% here. And let's hope that somehow Jeff Bezos and Amazon get the reboot of I am really, if there's one more universe, I love Mr. Robot. I think Sam Ismail is doing incredible work. If they ever bring that show back, because I was on X-Files so long ago, or if Ryan Kuchler, he wants to redo the X-Files. There's so many cool universes coming in. I really hope Stargate comes back. And maybe Jason Momoa will make guest star appearances.
Ronan Dex is still out there, so it's entirely possible. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elisabeth. It was such a pleasure. You take care of yourself, and I will be in touch.
Okay.
Be well.
Thank you. Bye.
Elisabeth Rosen, Jennifer Hailey in
Amazing,
Stargate
guys.
SG-1. This was cool. I've been working with her for a few weeks to make this episode possible, and I'm really thankful that everything came together so well. A couple of questions from our interview with Brad Wright through Companion. Lauren Nichols said, "I'm curious if you could ask Brad this at a later date. How many roles were written with specific actors in mind, and how many of those actors did they actually get, like Dom DeLuise for Ergo?" That is a great question. I do not know the answer to that. And but if we get lucky enough of speaking with Brad again, I will find out. And Toon Tamasha, tip for future episode questions: any footage from Stargate Command, aka Season 9's prototype, and was there an episode with multiple scrap scripts and outcomes? That is another good question. Stargate Command, we were throwing a lot of stuff around a few years ago, but the project got killed after a couple of years. I didn't see anything personally. I know that there is a huge archive of deleted scenes that they were going through, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So my thanks to Anthony and Tracy. Thank you both for being here to moderate this episode. Tomorrow we have Kendall Cross, who played Julia Donovan in several seasons of Stargate. We're going to have her at 12 noon Pacific time tomorrow, Saturday, October the 28th. That will be live, so tune in to get your questions submitted for her. And then Heather E. Ash on the 29th of October at 12 noon, writer and story editor for Stargate SG-1. And then finally, we're going to close out Season 3 on October the 29th at 2 p.m. Pacific time with Michael Shanks, who played Daniel Jackson in Stargate SG-1. And then I am going to go on a break, and I'll see you guys back next year. My thanks to, once again, to my moderating team, to my producer, Linda Gate Gabber-Fury, Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web for keeping dialthegate.com up and running, and once again, to Elisabeth Rosen for making this episode possible. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.